Hello my darlings and welcome. In this video I design and create 2 greeting cards for Samhain and Halloween using watercolor paint and glow-in-the-dark and glitter watercolor paint, and featuring a raven in a cemetery and a black cat on a jack-o'-lantern. Let's do some magical crafting. Thank you for joining me as I create a Samhain greeting card. If you enjoy my watercolor and art witch content, kindly leave a like on this video. I'll leave links to all of the materials I use in this project in the description below. I create 2 cards in this video, and I'll add timestamps to each item below as well, so that you can navigate to the portions that interest you most. My process to create this card is to trace out a 4:6 ratio rectangle onto a piece of watercolor paper and draw out my scene in pencil. Then I trace over my pencil sketches with a waterproof micron pen. The first card is going to be a spooky scene, a raven sitting on a headstone in a cemetery. There will be a large full moon in the background and creepy bare tree branches on each side. As an homage to the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland, I'm adding the phrase Memento Mori and a skull on the headstone. We discussed the card concepts for the Samhain greeting cards on a recent live stream. I combined the idea of a cemetery and a raven in the first card, and pumpkins or a jack-o'-lantern and a black cat in the second card. Once the design is inked, it's time to go in with watercolor paint. I started with a thin layer of watercolor paint to block in the colors. I know that I'm going to go over these colors with the mica and glitter watercolor later. Samhain is also called the third harvest. The holiday marks the end of the harvest season and heralds the beginning of winter and the dark half of the year. It's a time to honor death. Samhain is also the Gaelic name for the month of November, the literal translation being summer's end. I like to celebrate in the week leading up to Halloween and the week after it to get as many days of spooky magic in as I can. This lets me stress less about having a ritual or a special meal on a specific day, and I can just enjoy the season. One of the ways I like to celebrate the season is to decorate my home and my sacred spaces with seasonal items such as pumpkins and skulls, representing the third harvest, and to celebrate and embrace the nearness of the spirits of my ancestors during this portion of the year. The leaves have fallen and most are on the ground. This is a time when earth is going dark. I try to reflect the colors of late autumn in my altar decorations. Rich, deep colors like purples, burgundies, and black, as well as harvest shades like gold and orange. Once the background is completely dry, the next step is to add a layer of shimmer watercolor paint. I have a witchy friend who makes handcrafted shimmer, metallic, iridescent, and glitter water paints. She created a Samhain-inspired palette for me for the holiday. It includes glitter and mica pigments. Her shop is called Scarlet Nymph, and while this is not a sponsored video, I do have a coupon code for 25% off in the description if you'd like to purchase this or any other watercolors from her Etsy shop. We're working together to create a paint palette for every holiday on the wheel of the year. The first step to using these handcrafted paints is to spray them with water and let them soften for a few minutes. Then dip a damp but not soaking wet brush in, so that the paint is quite thick on the brush. This way the maximum amount of the pigment and shimmer is transferred to the paper. Several paints in this Samhain set are created with mica, and so the paints can be used quite thin. They can be diluted and used sheer. I'm using the deep blue and turquoise for the tree branches, with a bit of the charcoal mica for the tombstone. The black in this palette is extremely dark. I will contrast this light-eating black with the glow-in-the-dark yellow in the moon. And I'll be using the light silver mica to add a halo around the moon as well. The second card design is less spooky and more cartoony cute. It features a black cat and a smiling jack-o'-lantern. Once again, I outline the pencil sketch with a waterproof Micron pen. The next step is to block in the basic colors with watercolor paint, and then go over that with some more of the mica and glitter watercolor palette. The glitter paints are created with larger pieces of glitter in them. Those should be used at the consistency of maple syrup for best results. The paint needs to be thick because the glitter particles are so large. Samhain is the third of 3 harvest festivals each year. The final crops are brought in and the vegetation begins to turn inward to weather the cold months. The leaves fall and the branches are bare. The origin of Halloween comes from the dark nights of the ancient Celtic festival of Summer's End, when people would light bonfires and wear costumes to ward off roaming ghosts. The festival of Samhain is seen as a time when spirits of the dead, supernatural beings, and the AOC walk the earth. A jack-o'-lantern can be made out of a carved pumpkin, turnip, or other root vegetable. The lanterns can represent spirits, supernatural beings, or can be used to ward off evil spirits. Sometimes they're used to frighten people, and sometimes they're set on windowsills to keep harmful spirits out of a home. Once I was happy with the artwork, the next step is to scan the artwork and clean it up and color correct it in Photoshop. I set the cards up to be printed out in the center of a letter-sized piece of cardstock. I'll be making these cards available on Patreon. If you'd like to download a PDF of these printable cards, please visit Magical Crafting on Patreon at the link below the video. My patrons can download recipes, Book of Shadows pages, artwork, and more, all provided as PDFs, and I continue to add new downloadable content as I do more projects on the channel. I've provided my patrons with 3 versions of each of these cards. One says Happy Samhain, another Happy Halloween, and the third one is blank as shown in this video. The next step is to trim out my cards and fold them. I carefully lined up the corners and edges and made sure that the cards had a very sharp fold. I hope this video inspires you to create your own Samhain greeting card. I'd love to become pen pals with my witchy viewers, and if you'd like to share holiday cards, I'll leave my address below. If you enjoy my watercolor and art witch content, don't forget to kindly leave me a like on this video. And may all of the blessings of the third harvest and Samhain be abundantly yours.